A mistress forcefully take $1 million from a millionaire CEO that make him go poor. Mr. Charles and his wife, Deborah, ran Chardeb Ventures successfully and shared a happy marriage. But things changed when Jennifer became Charles's mistress. Behind her beauty hid a dangerous ambition. She didn't just want his heart, she wanted control. One quiet afternoon at Chardeb Ventures, Jennifer strutted confidently into the office of the chief financial officer, Mr. Amos. Her heels clicked sharply against the tiled floor, announcing her presence before she even spoke. "Mr. Charles said you should transfer $1 million to this account," she said, sliding a paper across his desk. Mr. Amos glanced at the account number, frowning. "I'll need confirmation from Mr. Charles himself." Jennifer's eyes narrowed. "Don't you know I'm his wife? Or are you ready to lose your job?" Her voice rose, sharp and commanding. "Do it now." Everyone in the company knew Jennifer's temper, loud, fiery, and ruthless. Rumors swirled, but no one dared challenge her. With a racing heart and trembling fingers, Mr. Amos initiated the transfer. The moment it was done, Jennifer smiled coldly. "Good," she said, turning on her heels and walking out without another word. As the office door clicked shut behind her, Mr. Amos sat frozen, dread creeping over him. Something about that transfer didn't feel right, but the damage was already done. The company's downfall had just begun, and no one even knew it. Back at the mansion, Deborah sat on the bed, folding laundry when Mr. Charles's phone beeped. Curious, she glanced at the screen and froze. A $1 million deduction from the company account? Her heart raced. She stared at the transaction, confused and alarmed. Moments later, Charles stepped out of the bathroom, towel in hand. "Charles," she said calmly, holding up the phone, "why was $1 million transferred from Chardeb's account today?" As Charles stared at the debit alert, his heart dropped. He knew exactly what was going on. Jennifer. Just days ago, she had begged him for money to fund a luxury vacation in Dubai. He had refused, warning her that company funds weren't her personal bank. But Jennifer wasn't one to hear no. Trying to stay composed, he turned to Deborah. "It's for a bulk product order," he lied, forcing a weak smile. "Something urgent came up with our supplier." Deborah nodded slowly, suspicion in her eyes. The moment she looked away, Charles grabbed his keys and rushed out. Panic twisted in his stomach as he sped toward Chardeb Ventures. His mind raced. How did she pull this off? Had someone at the company helped her? As he stormed into the building, staff watched him in surprise. He went straight to the CFO's office. "Amos!" he barked, slamming the door behind him. "Who authorized that $1 million transfer?" Amos stood, flustered. "Sir, Jennifer said it was from you. She insisted. She even claimed to be your wife. I was afraid to say no." Charles clenched his fists. The mistress had crossed a line. Now, war had begun. With rage boiling inside him, Charles marched down the hallway, ignoring the curious stares from staff. He burst into Jennifer's office without knocking. She looked up casually, chewing gum, legs crossed, as if nothing had happened. "Are you out of your mind?" Charles shouted. "The company is only worth $2 million, and you transferred half of it for a damn vacation?" Jennifer didn't flinch. She leaned back in her chair, arms folded. "If it's that serious, then fine. Let's end this. No stress." Her words hit him like a slap. End it? Just like that? Charles froze, heart pounding. The anger in his chest clashed with the strange pull he still felt toward her. He stared at her beauty, the spark in her eyes, the danger he couldn't seem to resist. "No, no," he murmured, voice cracking. Slowly, he walked toward her. I'll find something to do about it." Jennifer raised an eyebrow, surprised, but said nothing. Charles reached out and hugged her tightly. She smirked over his shoulder while he stood there, speechless, confused, and completely lost in the fire he had lit with his own hands. While Charles and Jennifer remained locked in a quiet embrace, lost in a storm of emotion and secrecy, they had no idea trouble was already at the door. Deborah had arrived at the company unannounced, driven by suspicion. The $1 million transfer still haunted her thoughts, and Charles's rushed exit only made it worse. She walked briskly to his office, empty. "Where's Mr. Charles?" she asked a nearby staff member. The young man hesitated, then leaned closer. "Ma, I saw him heading to Jennifer's office a few minutes ago." Deborah's chest tightened. Without a word, she turned and walked down the corridor, heels echoing in the silence. As she pushed the door to Jennifer's office open, the sight before her stopped her cold. There they were, Charles, her husband, and Jennifer, his so-called assistant, wrapped in each other's arms. Her breath caught in her throat. Time seemed to freeze. The warmth drained from her face as betrayal crashed down on her like a wave. Neither of them had noticed her yet, but the storm she was about to unleash would be impossible to ignore. "Charles!" Deborah's voice thundered through the room like a lightning strike. Charles jolted, stepping back from Jennifer as if waking from a trance. His eyes met Deborah's, wide with betrayal, brimming with tears. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Deborah shook her head slowly, lips trembling. Without waiting for an explanation, she turned and stormed out, her heels echoing down the hallway like a countdown to destruction. "Deborah, wait!" Charles called, rushing after her, but she was gone. As he reached the door, Jennifer blocked his path, her eyes cold. "If you leave now, Charles," she said sharply, "don't come back. It's either me or her." Charles stood frozen, torn between the chaos he created and the woman he vowed to love. "Jennifer, this wasn't supposed to happen like this." Jennifer crossed her arms. "Then make a choice." He hesitated, heart pounding, guilt gnawing at his chest. Then, without another word, he brushed past her. "Charles!" she shouted behind him, but he didn't look back. He rushed into his car, sped out of the company premises, and headed straight home. His mind was racing. The embrace, the betrayal, the tears in Deborah's eyes, it all played over and over. He had to fix it, if it wasn't already too late. Charles burst through the front door, breathless, and found Deborah sitting alone in the parlor. Her shoulders trembled, face buried in her palms, as silent tears streamed down her cheeks. "Deborah," he called softly, stepping closer. She looked up slowly, her red, tear-stained eyes piercing through him like knives. "Don't," she whispered. Charles knelt beside her, reaching for her hands. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was a mistake. Jennifer, she tricked me. I never meant to hurt you or risk everything we built." Deborah pulled her hands away, wiping her face. "A mistake? $1 million, Charles? An embrace? A woman who works in our company, who dares call herself your wife?" He sighed deeply. "I know, I was wrong. I'm not defending it. But please, don't let this be the end of us." Deborah looked at him, her breath still shaky. For a moment, silence filled the room like fog. "I don't know what hurts more," she said finally, voice low, "the betrayal, or the fact that I still want to believe you." Charles bowed his head, shame heavy on his shoulders. Deborah slowly stood, her strength returning. But her heart still torn. Deborah walked past Charles in silence, her tears dry but her heart shattered. Charles remained on his knees, watching her go, unsure if he had just lost her forever. A few days later, Deborah sat quietly in her car parked near Chardeb Ventures. Her eyes scanned every movement near the company gate. She wasn't just waiting, she was watching. Her heart beat steadily, not with fear but with quiet determination. She needed answers. No, she needed to face the woman who tried to tear her life apart. Then she saw her. Jennifer walked out of the building, phone in hand, her expression as confident as ever. She got into her car and drove off without a clue that someone was behind her. Deborah followed. She kept a careful distance through the streets until Jennifer pulled into the parking lot of a mall. Once Jennifer stepped inside, Deborah waited a moment before getting out of her car and following her. She found her near the beauty section, casually browsing. Deborah approached, standing quietly beside her. Jennifer glanced over, surprised for a second, then smirked. "Well, well, look who's here. The abandoned wife." Deborah didn't flinch. "You think this is a game, don't you? You walk into my marriage, my company, and expect to win?" Jennifer chuckled lightly. "Sweetheart, I didn't walk into anything. Charles opened the door and invited me in." "I don't care what he promised you," Deborah snapped. "I'm warning you. Leave him and leave our company before this gets ugly." Jennifer turned to face her fully, the smirk now gone. "Ugly? Deborah, I am his wife now. Maybe not by law, but certainly by heart. You're holding on to memories, while he's holding on to me. Deborah's jaw clenched. You're a phase, and phases fade. Jennifer leaned in slightly. We'll see who fades first. For a moment, they stared at each other. 2 women, 1 man, and a storm between them. Without another word, Deborah turned and walked away, her heels echoing through the mall. She didn't get the answer she came for, but she got clarity. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was war. Deborah drove home with her hands trembling on the steering wheel, her vision blurred with tears. The pain had settled deep in her chest. Charles had truly betrayed her. Not just with lies, not just with money, but with love. He had shared it with someone else. The moment she stepped into the house, she went straight to the bedroom and pulled out a suitcase. Her hands moved quickly, packing her clothes in silence. Every shirt folded felt like another piece of her heart breaking. "Deborah, please," Charles said as he entered the room, eyes pleading. "Don't do this. We can fix it. I made a mistake." She paused and looked at him. "No, Charles. You made a choice. And now I'm making mine. I still love you," he whispered. She zipped the bag slowly. "Then you should have protected me, not embarrassed me." With that, she rolled her suitcase past him. He didn't try to stop her again. The front door closed softly behind her, but its silence was louder than any slam. Charles stood in the middle of the quiet room, alone. The echo of her footsteps haunted him. Now he had Jennifer, but he had lost everything else. Months passed, and Charles sat alone in his office, staring blankly at the company's financial report. His once thriving empire was crumbling. Contracts were falling through, trusted clients were pulling out, and internal issues kept piling up. The energy in Chardeb Ventures had shifted. Loyal staff had resigned quietly, and whispers filled the hallways. Charles rubbed his temples, drowning in confusion and regret. He had thought choosing Jennifer was exciting, but all she brought was chaos. Jennifer now cared more about luxury than strategy, and Charles couldn't rely on her for anything business-related. Bills were stacking, debts growing, and his reputation was fading fast. He leaned back in his chair, eyes closed. Deborah's words echoed in his mind. "You made a choice." Now he sat in the ruins of that choice, alone, ashamed, and watching everything he once built fall apart, piece by piece. Just as Charles sat drowning in stress and silence, the office door creaked open. He looked up. It was Jennifer. She stepped in without knocking, arms folded, eyes cold and unreadable. There was no smile, no warmth, just a woman who had come to deliver something final. Charles sat up straight. "Jennifer, what's wrong now?" She took a breath, then said flatly, "This isn't working." His brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "I mean us," she said, stepping closer. "I thought I wanted this, being with you, building something together. But clearly this is a sinking ship, and I'm not going down with it." Charles stood stunned. "You're leaving me? Now?" Jennifer shrugged. "Look around, Charles. The company's collapsing. Your staff hates me, and you're no longer the man I wanted. You're broken, tired, miserable, and frankly, I don't want to be part of this mess anymore." He stared at her, speechless. "You left your wife for me," she added, "but I never asked you to ruin your life. That was all you." She turned to walk out. "So that's it?" Charles asked quietly. Jennifer paused at the door. "It always was. You just didn't see it." With that, she walked out, heels clicking down the hall. And Charles was truly alone. Once Charles lived a life of power, wealth, and love, but one reckless choice cost him everything. Now the empire was gone. The company folded under pressure, investors pulled out, debt soared, and eventually Chardeb Ventures was auctioned off. The mansion was sold to pay legal fees, cars repossessed, and even his so-called friends disappeared. With nowhere else to go, Charles returned to the trenches. He now worked as a cleaner in a small roadside restaurant. Every morning he mopped floors and wiped tables in silence, wearing a faded uniform and a cap that hid the face of a man who once signed million-dollar deals. Customers passed him by without a second glance. One afternoon, as he cleaned a spill near the entrance, a child pointed at him and asked, "Mommy, was he once rich?" Charles smiled faintly. The mother simply pulled her child away, not knowing the story behind the man holding the mop. In the silence of the kitchen, Charles stared at his reflection in the fridge door, hollow eyes, aged face, tired hands. He had it all. He lost it all, and now he was just a lesson the world walked past every day. Jennifer's life didn't stop when she left Charles. It only got louder, flashier, wilder. She moved in with Jackson, a handsome, smooth-talking man who showered her with expensive gifts, took her to private parties, and made sure her glass was never empty. To Jennifer, it felt like an upgrade. No more boring boardrooms or office drama, just fast cars, designer bags, and luxury getaways. One evening, Jackson lounged on the couch in their lavish penthouse, flipping through his phone. Jennifer strolled in, wearing sunglasses indoors and holding her travel brochure. "Babe," she said, dropping the glossy pages onto the glass table, "I'm thinking Maldives next. Or maybe Dubai, somewhere exclusive. We need a break from the city." Jackson glanced at the brochure and gave a half smile. "Sounds good, but let me clear some business first." Jennifer rolled her eyes playfully. "You're always on business. What exactly do you do, Jackson? I mean, money keeps coming in, but you're never in an office." He looked up slowly, the smile fading slightly. "Let's just say, I make sure people get what they need." Jennifer laughed. "That's vague. Sounds like code for something illegal?" Jackson's eyes narrowed just for a moment. Then he laughed too. "You watch too many movies." But deep down, Jennifer felt a chill crawl up her spine. She didn't know that her new dream life was built on something far darker than Charles's betrayal, and this time the price of love might be her freedom. That evening, as the city lights flickered on, Jennifer relaxed on the balcony, sipping her wine when her phone buzzed. "Charles calling." She raised an eyebrow, amused. "What does he want now?" Curious, she answered, "Hello?" Charles's voice came through, low and worn. "Jennifer, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry." She rolled her eyes. "Sorry? For what? Failing at life or dragging me into your mess?" "Please, Jen, Save it!" she snapped. "You're nothing to me now, Charles. Go cry to someone else." Before he could speak again, she ended the call and tossed her phone on the table like trash. Back in his small room, Charles stared at the screen. The call ended. A lump formed in his throat. He had lost everything. And now, even the woman he threw it all away for. And for the first time, he truly felt the weight of his downfall. A few months later, just after sunrise, the peace in Jackson and Jennifer's luxury penthouse shattered. "Boom, boom, boom! FBI, open up! This is a federal raid." Jackson leapt off the couch, panic in his eyes. Jennifer ran from the kitchen, confused. "Jackson, what's happening?" He didn't answer. Instead, he rushed to the bedroom and yanked open a secret drawer under the bed, stuffing cash and small Ziploc bags into a backpack. Crash! The front door exploded inward. Armed FBI agents stormed the apartment, shouting, "Hands in the air! Don't move! This is a drug bust!" Jackson bolted for the back door, but it was too late. 2 agents tackled him hard, slamming him to the floor. "You're under arrest for drug trafficking and distribution across state lines." Jennifer froze in shock. "Wait, what? Drugs? Jackson?" "Ma'am, step aside," an officer yelled. She raised her hands, tears in her eyes. "I didn't know, I swear I didn't know what he was into." An agent moved toward her, pulling out handcuffs. "You've been living off dirty money, flying with him, helping him move assets. You're part of this." "No, I had no idea, please." But her cries didn't matter. Jennifer was cuffed and read her rights. Outside, flashing lights painted the morning sky. Neighbors peeked from balconies. News crews swarmed. Jackson was shoved into a van, defiant and silent. Jennifer followed, head bowed, her designer life reduced to handcuffs and humiliation. The dream was over. She was now a criminal's shadow. Charles gently placed plates on the table, offering a quiet, "Enjoy your meal," when one of the men looked up, squinting. "Wait, aren't you Charles, that big man with the company?" Another chuckled, "Wow, from suits to aprons. Life really did a number on you." They burst into laughter as Charles stood silently, gripping his tray. He gave a faint smile, nodded, and walked away, each mocking word stabbing deeper than the last. They weren't business partners, just people who once admired him. Now, they only pitied him. One quiet afternoon, Charles was busy wiping down tables when a woman walked into the restaurant. She sat near the window, her sunglasses hiding tired eyes. "Good afternoon, ma'am," he said without looking closely, holding his notepad. "What can I get for you?" "A plate of jollof rice and grilled chicken, please," she replied softly. He nodded, still not recognizing her voice. A few minutes later, he returned and gently placed the plate before her. Their hands brushed. She looked up, eyes widening. Charles? He froze. Slowly, he turned to meet her gaze. Deborah! For a long second, neither said a word. The years, the pain, and the memories all came rushing in. I didn't recognize you, he said, voice low. I didn't expect to see you here, she whispered. They talked, quietly, cautiously. She had heard about Jennifer's arrest. He had nothing left but regrets. I was angry, Deborah admitted, but I never stopped praying for you. His eyes welled with tears. I ruined everything. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm willing to start again, she said gently. If you are. That afternoon they sat together for hours, talking, laughing, remembering, and when Deborah stood to leave, she held his hand. From that moment, piece by piece, they began rebuilding, not just their marriage, but their lives. Not from wealth, but from truth. Not from power, but from love. Charles and Deborah started a little company together, just a small catering service from their modest kitchen. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. They cooked, delivered meals, and slowly built a reputation for honesty and great food. Hand in hand, they grew stronger, both in business and in love. Success isn't about how big you start, but how true your heart is. Even after failure, with love, humility, and hard work, a new beginning is always possible.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support helps grow this community and brings more thrilling stories your way. Stay tuned, another suspenseful tale is coming soon.